Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some indie neo-soul inspired by artists like Cleo Sol, Sade, Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, Raven Lene, even some Steve Lacy stuff, maybe even like Clairo's new album and things of that nature. Just anyone that falls under this umbrella of very soulful, inspired, organic sounding. It's like a huge blend of a bunch of genres. It's not like traditional neo-soul music. It's my favorite genre to listen to. My most listened to artist almost every year is Sade, and I just love neo-soul. I used to make a bunch of neo-soul stuff. If people that really know me, they know that I kind of got my first start in music other than house music doing neo-soul stuff. So I've spent a lot of time kind of studying it, and I'm gonna go over how to make everything from scratch. It's gonna sound very organic, and we're gonna use a lot of live instruments, a lot of cool textures, and a lot of things that I don't see covered all the time when doing neo-soul stuff. And I'm gonna explain my entire thought process as we go about cooking up something all the way from scratch. And yeah, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna start off with drums. So firstly, I'm gonna do a slow tempo, maybe like 72-ish, around there. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Addictive Drums 2, and I have a couple kits that I actually got from my boy, shout out to him, QAPT Music. He makes a bunch of Addictive Drums MIDI packs and Addictive Drums 2 preset packs. So I'm gonna look through here real quick and try to find one. I'm gonna use this Soul Bounce one. It sounds kind of cool. Super cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through my beats, and I have, there's a bunch of different MIDI that you can use. I always like to use MIDI because drawing in MIDI drums, it's so hard to make them sound good live. And a lot of these packs, like this is obviously an external pack that I purchased from somebody that I know, and you all have access to it. If you go to QAPT Music, you can get a lot of his packs in particular, but all of these are all really good. All these MIDI packs are all played by real drummers. Usually the people that are selling external packs of Addictive Drums, they're playing like on an electronic drum kit as they're kind of making the sounds their own. So I'm gonna go plus or minus 20, and I'm gonna look around to see which one of these kind of sounds good. Okay, so I kind of messed around a little bit. I got this phrase, it's called Out the Way. And what I did here is I separated the kick from the MIDI itself. So originally the MIDI was like this. I haven't put any kick in yet, but the MIDI was like this originally. A lot of soul and R&B stuff with Addictive Drums is the kicks don't have the power that I'm really looking for, so I always end up separating it. And the way I do that is I just duplicate the channel and I just select everything except for the kick, and I just mute it. And then that way I'm only left with the kick. And then you just gotta make sure that you do the same thing, but the opposite. So you just mute the kick. So now the drums will just have no kick. The other thing I did is when you're making a lot of soulful stuff, you really want that side stick or that rim hit instead of the snare. So like before, I believe it was on this, but that's just so aggressive and just not. I want like that Tiny Desk vibe, like that super soft Anderson .Paak kind of groove. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a kick, and what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna use a kick from a track that I've already used before. I believe it's from a beat of mine called Determine. So I'm gonna grab the kick and put it into here, because I've used this kick before. I got this kick from Splice, I'm 100% sure. I think it was from a James Pensley pack. If I find it, I'll put a screenshot of it somewhere up on here. So I'm just gonna drag this, and then now. So what I wanna do is I wanna bring these velocities down into my kick. I'm gonna fix this all later when I mix it, but the kick is a little bit boomy for my taste, so I'm gonna do that in a sec. The next thing that I wanna do is I wanna get some kind of like bongo loop or something. So I'm gonna go into my boy Dionzo's pack, and he has this like conga, this conga 140 loop. I love the way this loop sounds. I don't want all that reverb though, so a trick that I always use is I'll get a transient designer or a transient master or something, and I'll just bring the sustain down. So I've been listening to Cleo Sol's album a lot lately. She just dropped it. It's called Gentle Woman. And something that I've noticed is it's a lot of 2-bar loops, like foundationally, and then just a lot of accents and a lot of little things that I call kind of like attention. They're like attention resets where they'll come in out of nowhere. It'll be like a flute thrill, or it'll be like a guitar fill, or a drum cut or a drum fill, just to like re-grab your attention. But you're meant to just stay in that kind of 2-bar pocket. So I'm gonna grab these Rhodes. They're from Keyscape. I'm actually gonna draw the MIDI in because I know not everybody has access to MIDI keyboards. And I'm gonna show you how you can make your chords sound really real. And yeah, so it's just, I have this velocity because with Keyscape in particular, if I have this off, it can get really harsh. And I think Rhodes sound better when they're super smooth. So what I'm gonna do is I'm thinking maybe going like F sharp minor, and I want to do something called, I want to do a minor 1/4, I think is what I want to do. So I'm going to start on the 1. So I'm going to build up a chord. I'm probably going to build up like a minor 9 maybe. Something super smooth, just block chords for now. I'll put this MIDI monitor at the beginning of this so you can see the chord. So it's a F sharp or G flat minor 9. And I'm just gonna duplicate this and go down to this B. So super smooth, but the main part about getting your chords to sound really smooth is your voice leading. So voice leading is just the way that I like to describe it, and the way that I kind of understand it is just how you choose to voice the top of your chords to make it so that there's not as much movement. So it's just a very smooth kind of handoff transition, right? So a move that I always like to do, I like to bring the 3rd up an octave, and sometimes that might sound good. Maybe this up an octave. So I think that sounds a little bit better. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to strum the chords. Very common move when you're playing them. Something I am gonna do though, I'm gonna make sure that it's smaller, because sometimes when you put this past it, like the A will disappear. So I'm gonna strum these pretty hard. So it's like I want it to be like I want it to be like brum. And then now I want to do maybe like a passing note. And the reason why I picked that C sharp is because that is the top voice of what we're doing. So I put it before, because if I'm on a keyboard, that'd probably be my main move. So I'm gonna strum these as well and change the shape a little bit so it's not the same. And I'm gonna make sure this C sharp is like very late. Another really common move to do is to grab the whole chord, duplicate it up an octave, and do it halfway. I think what I might do is I might do this octave so it's kind of like an octave. And I could even strum these two a little bit manually, so it's like a fast octave. Make this one quieter. So now the next step would be to mess with the velocities, right? So obviously when you're playing keys, not every hit's gonna be the same. So you have a couple options. You can either randomize them. What I like to do is, so in Ableton and every DAW, you can do this randomize feature, and you can kind of mess around with them like this. I don't want them to be too far off from each other, and I'm gonna make sure that my top notes have the highest velocities, because normally if I'm playing them and I'm strumming them, I'm landing kind of hard because I want that note to be heard. Like that middle one is too harsh. Fill you wouldn't do every time, right? So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of this octave thing, so it doesn't happen that often. I don't mind this happening often, but I kind of want this to be like more of a loop, right? Super smooth, right? In neo soul, in every song, to me personally, bass is the foundation. Your bass will dictate a lot of the groove, a lot of the pockets you're going in. And in neo soul and soul music in general, your bass is going to be doing a lot of movement. It's going to be resolving a lot. It's going to be transitioning from things, especially because this is like a bed and we're trying to get the bass to really kind of carry the rhythm. So let me grab my bass real quick and I'm going to start kind of fiddling around and let's see what we can get. Got my bass, and I know for sure what I want to do is I want to do octave jumps. I want to do perfect fifth jumps. It's going to be a little bouncy. It's going to have a lot of, and I also know that my chords are F sharp and B. Those are the root notes that I'm playing. So I know I have a couple options, right? So I'll put the tuner on so you can see what notes I'm playing. But we obviously know F sharp is up here, and then there's a B over here. So that's one option, but also this is also an F sharp because they're perfect fifth. So, and also, so I know I can either start my loop here, but I kind of want it to be like, so a very classic move that a lot of neo soul songs do, especially when they're doing these kind of jumps and rhythms, is they'll go root, perfect fifth, or not perfect fifth, but like they'll do this relationship right here to the octave, and on the octave they'll do that. So I'll probably do something like, so something like that. So I'm gonna just have this looping and I'm just gonna fiddle around until I kind of get something that I like a lot. All right, so I got something. It took me a good amount of tries, but we ended up getting there in the end. This is what it all sounds like together. Just a little bit sloppy. I ended up going in and fixing the timing because I was playing it kind of rushed. I wasn't playing it perfectly, and you know, to me, done is better than perfect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab an NS1, which is just a noise suppressor because my bass is very ringy, as you can hear, especially like a lot of noise. So I'm gonna just to make it so that it's not very noisy. And then I'm gonna use this clean bass tone rack that I made a while ago, and I'm gonna go through it one by one so you could see. I made this in one of my previous videos, and you'll be able to see it here again. So I started off with Soothe 2, this demudding the bass, and I think I tweaked some of the settings, and I brought the mix down to 30. Does a great job of cleaning everything up. I have this LA3A, which is just doing some compression, mainly to catch like these huge peaks where I'm hitting on the downbeat kind of hard and I want it all to be a little bit more consistent. So it kind of levels out the performance a bit more. And then I just have this Pultec because when I compressed it and I used the Soothe, I kind of took away a lot of the frequencies that I wanted. So I just went in to kind of add them back. That sounds good so far. Now that I have a cool little groove, I'm gonna grab my guitar and I'm gonna do, I know for sure I wanna do the chords. So I wanna layer up the chords from the Rhodes with a clean tone. And I also wanna do some kind of riff, like maybe a couple riffs, I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna figure that out now. I'm gonna grab my guitar real quick and let's see what we can kind of come up with. So I got my guitar and I know I'm doing minor ninth, so I might just kind of stick with that. I have a couple options. Obviously, I'm gonna play these all higher up or lower on the neck so that it's like a bit of a higher tone since a lot of my mids are covered and I don't really wanna have chords that are gonna clash with the Rhodes. I feel like a big mistake I used to make a lot when making songs like these is I used to overstack keys and pads and stuff and stack guitars and all this crazy stuff, but like it's all just compensation, you know? At the end of the day, you can't bury a badly written song and progression by just throwing a bunch of stuff at it. It's kind of counterintuitive. When I'm thinking about writing songs, especially when they're very organic like this, and what we do is a lot of, you know, live-based music, is you want to make sure that a band can play this. And a band can't play 4 different guitar parts with 5 different keyboards and 2 different synths. Like, it's just not realistic, you know? Just try to think about how many people are in a band, how many people can really recreate this without having to rely on just like a digital playback, right? So I'm gonna do this minor 9 shape. I love this shape. It's like super bossa nova sounding. So I know for sure this is F sharp minor 9. And then I know all the way up here, there's the B and it's the same shape, but it's off the neck, so it's... So I might do like a... So I'll probably just strum out just 1 layer as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and record that. Let's see what that sounds like. I'm just gonna do a clean tone for now. Okay, so I got the chords and they sound like this. This would sound like dry. So all I did is I added this kind of band pass EQ to make it feel like it's more like kind of in a room. Just because it was very twangy because I am using a Telecaster. Then I added this Good Hertz Wolf compressor. And this compressor is, this thing is awesome. I love it so much. It like instantly adds the vibe that I want and it compresses it so it makes the performance a little bit more consistent. Super cool. I added this wow control just to add a little bit more. I want it to feel even a little bit more vintage. This is kind of like, you could use RC20 for this, or maybe a J37, I don't know. It's hard to emulate what these Good Hertz plugins do. They're so good at what they do. I couldn't recommend them enough. And then the last thing I added was this plate reverb. This is actually new from UAD Spark. They just added this recently, so I wanted to use it. I love this reverb. I use it a lot. But the old one looks very outdated, and it's only for UAD console holders, which I'm blessed to have one. I have a Apollo Twin, but they made this one for native, so you don't need one, and it sounds so good. So all together is what we have. I'm gonna see what kind of accents I can come up with now that I have a good foundation. Now I wanna make kind of like some motifs that can be played and sprinkled around the track a little bit. Okay, so I got 2 little guitar accents that I kind of am happy with, and they're just little sprinkles that can be played. I use the same exact tone as I did for these chords, and this is what they sound like all together. So that way they kind of get to call and respond a little bit. So this is what they sound like in context. Super smooth. Now what I think I'm gonna do, there's this thing that is always used in a bunch of neo soul songs. It's like this kind of like flute thrill kind of thing. And I know where I can get one. Let me get the same reverb that I use so all the accents and everything can be kind of in the same vein. I want to do some kind of bell thing, like a xylophone or something along those lines. I think I'm gonna go into Keyscape and I'm gonna layer a piano, and I'm also gonna see if I can find some kind of like up toy piano kind of thing to see maybe if I can find something that works. Okay, so I got this little xylophone and I got a piano. I'm getting kind of stuck, so I'm wondering what else I'm gonna add to this. I'm thinking maybe some kind of strings or something. So I added these. All this is just these kind of perfect fits just this C sharp and this G. And I got this kind of by what's going on in these chords. So the first note is this C sharp. So I'm trying to get there, and the last note is a G sharp. So I thought, okay, I want to do G sharp to C sharp, obviously. So let me figure out how I can kind of make that work. So, you know, in context. That's kind of like a double. And then as for the piano, and I got it from just Keyscape. I just went into Keyscape. And it's this little toy piano, this Glock. It's like a mini Glockenspiel, I think. And I just took out the low end. I'll probably add some reverb to it. And then as for the piano is also just Keyscape, just this LA Custom C7 Softest. But I think I actually want to use Double Felt Grand. This is the nicest piano in Keyscape, in my opinion. You know, this is one of those moments, I've never done this in a video, but this is one of those moments where I genuinely don't know what I'm going to add next at all. Like normally, I have some form of an idea in my brain, and maybe I've written some voice memos, or I've done like early iterations and little ideas, and I've like conceptualized it. But with this, I just got inspired a lot by Cleo Sol's album, and I really wanted to make something in that style, and it's something I haven't covered, and I think a lot of people would like it. But what I think I'm actually going to do, you won't see this in the video, but I'm gonna actually sit on this for a day, or for the night. I'm gonna just sit on it for the night, and I'm gonna come back to it with some fresh ears and see what I can kind of come up with. I also think it's an important lesson in you don't need to keep hammering away to try to find something. You get yourself a nice foundation. I'm gonna see if I can come up with some kind of melodies in my head to just write to it, like if I'm gonna pitch it to an artist. And if I can do that, I can figure out what's kind of missing under it. I'm thinking some kind of string section, maybe another B section with, I don't know, it could be a sax, could be more drums. I'm gonna just kind of sit on it for a day and see what I can kind of come up with. All right, so it's the day after, and I just went in and cleaned up the project a little bit, kind of leveled out some things and got some good ideas of what I kind of want to go over. And it's just an important lesson, like I said previously, of just letting things sit. You don't have to finish everything in one sitting. This is kind of an example of how a lot of my ideas go, where a lot of the core idea will be done in one session, and then you kind of walk away, take a break, maybe listen to it in the car a couple times, go on a walk and things of that nature. And yeah, you end up coming back a little bit more refreshed and some different ears. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like those memes where you stay up all night making something that you think is a banger, then you wake up the next day and you listen to it and it sounds like a bunch of clown noises and horns and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those examples. So let me just show you. I kind of went in and made it a little bit nicer to look at. So I kind of color coded stuff, a little bit OCD, but I also did a little bit of changes. So for this xylophone, I ended up adding this F sharp on top because before I was kind of missing a sound. I couldn't really hear it through the mix, but now it sounds like this. So I get an extra melodic note that sounds nicer. And then I might put a echo or a delay on it, and I have some more mix stuff that I want to do, but what I want to do now is, the last thing that I kind of want to add to this is just a string section. So I'm going to teach you kind of how I go about generating strings, and the way that I do this is there's a lot of really good string libraries. A lot of them are pretty expensive, especially the one that I'm going to use. I got it on Black Friday a while ago, and there's another one that's really good that everybody uses. It's called Chris Hines strings. Those are like top tier strings, and they are very expensive. But yeah, so I know I'm going to use a violin 1, a violin 2, and then like an ensemble of sorts, right? So I'm gonna open up Contact. So I grabbed Contact and I grabbed Spitfire chamber strings. I have a couple of them favorited. There's violins 1, violins 2, and ensemble. Sometimes I use the violas as well. Shout out to my boy Zuriel, because I kind of learned this method from him, because before I was kind of struggling with strings, and I remember one time I saw on one of his videos that he kind of broke down how he does his strings. So kind of took a lot of his methods and just applied it to my own kind of workflow. So we have the violins 1, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this to the other ones, and then this will be violin 2, and then this one will be the ensemble. So my game plan is I'm going to grab the MIDI from the Rhodes. So I'm going to grab the MIDI from the Rhodes, and then, so the way that this works is it's kind of like only one note at a time gets played. So this is just playing the top note, which is the G sharp, right? So the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna have the violin one play one note, and I'm gonna have it pan a little bit to the left. And then I'm just trying to think about how an orchestra would do this, right? So they would have each violin taking care of one note, and then they all kind of get put together to create chords, right? But the ensemble itself just plays the chord normally. And it's like a super nice bed, right? So what I'll do as well is I'll probably clean up the chord to make it less complex. So it's like instead of a minor 9, it'll just be like. So it's kind of like a different, you know, kind of a different harmony or a different melody. So let me see how I would do this. Maybe I'll go down here. That could work. That could work. So then what I'll do is, since I'm not gonna have the 9th up here, I would just do the 9th with these. So we'll select all, we'll take this and this. Maybe we could have this C sharp gliding thing one more time. That could be cool. Let me make sure this starts on the 1, and then I'll have this go like this. So we'll have this. Maybe that's too fast, so maybe we'll try this. And then let's see, maybe that'll work on its own. And then we'll keep this going. And then we'll have the violin 2 maybe do the same, because they have a difference. And then they'll both kind of do the same, and then we'll go ahead and process them as well. So let's hear what our strings sound like together. And then I hear something that we could do for the second part of this, because I kind of hear like a just let that go. We can have it come down maybe. That's so pretty. That is beautiful. So we'll maybe do something like that, and we'll copy this over here and have these two just loop. So now we have a little bit of a melody and a kind of like a little mini A and B section. So let's hear what this all sounds like in context. And then what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have this walk down. Maybe we'll walk it down like that. Let me see what that sounds like. So that it's like an 8-bar measure rather than just kind of a 4-bar loop that repeats over and over again. Boom, that's beautiful. That would be beautiful to resolve it to itself, and it's gonna sound really good going into just like a verse section, right? So now I'm pretty happy with that. That's kind of what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna process these a little bit. So I'm just trying to think about what do I want these to sound like. So I want to saturate them so that they're a little louder, and I also want to do some processing on the group. So these will be all my strings. I'm gonna probably make these. So I'm probably gonna make these like maybe this color, and then we'll go like that. So what I'm gonna do on the individual channels is I'm just gonna take out some of the lows just to kind of clean them up a little bit. That's so beautiful. It's so pretty. So, well, I want to process them all kind of together. So what I'm gonna do is I want to use some saturation. I want to use some tape saturation, and I want to keep it kind of in line with everything that I have been using. So I'm gonna look and see what have I been using already. So I've been using this Wolf compressor and this reverb. So I'm gonna keep using this EMT for sure. So let me put this on the bus. Something very important is to make sure that you're kind of using similar reverb so everything feels like it's in the same space. So like what I'll probably end up doing is I'm gonna, because I have a Hala vintage verb on my default like Rhodes and my keys. So I'm probably gonna switch them all for this same reverb, and on my drums I'll put that as well. So everything will feel like it's in the same room. Same with this flute. Let me change this. Perfect. And I think I might have to take out some of these lows on this because it's a little breathy. Very nice. So I'm pretty happy with this. This is what everything sounds like all together. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and arrange it a little bit, just gonna show you some different sections. So to me, an intro is super important, and there's always a couple different options that you could do. You can either, I'm a big fan of letting things just start off rip with the groove and just go. Another thing you could do is have like a slower intro that builds up. It kind of depends on who you're writing this for and what the plan is. After listening to, you know, a lot of neo soul albums and soulful albums, a lot of them tend to just kind of go off rip with the groove. And you know, there's obviously every artist has their own kind of idea of what they want to do, but I think for this I'm going to create a little intro part just to show you how you can kind of build this up. Then I'm going to show you a verse. This is what our chorus will sound like, and then maybe some kind of pre or something. So I'm going to arrange this a little bit, and then I'm going to explain everything as I do it. If there's anything new I'm adding, I will make sure that I like include it in the video for sure. But for now, arranging and just copying and pasting stuff looks a little bit boring, so that's why I do the editing, to save you some time. So I'm going to get into this and then I'll show you what I do. All right, so I'm going to show you kind of all the different sections that I would kind of go about making for this. So you have a couple options, obviously, like I said before. You can start off rip with the groove, just kind of just hammer it down and go hard, and maybe do, so instead of starting it the way that I have it, I'll show you what I have so far. I just kind of created an intro in case you wanted to have kind of a longer intro and do like a slow build, kind of like a, you know, I always think of things in terms of analogies, and a good analogy I like to say is, do you want your song to be more of a sparkler, or do you want it to be more of a slow burn, kind of like a candle? It's something that I tell artists all the time and producers as well. But I mainly just think about it small sense in terms of the start. Like, do you want your song to be something that slowly unfolds a story over time, or do you want it to just go right into the groove and have it just be a vibe and have something that has kind of more energy from the get-go? Like, you always have so many options to be flexible in terms of how you want to kind of have your song be perceived, because if I have it start off rip here, start like a sparkler, versus if I have it start the way I have it here, just very slow with just the chords. You know, I could even have it start with the fill instead. So this would be the example of an intro, and then you could have a verse. The verse is stripped back. The main difference is a lot of the sparkling stuff and the long sustained strings are the things that are gonna make the difference between your verse and your chorus for the most part. Especially with these songs where it's like the vocals are gonna do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of how many layers they're gonna have, how many stacks, the melodies and runs. You wanna give artists a lot of room. Like, this is just meant to be a really cool bed for an artist to go ham on if they want to, or just ride the wave and have a really nice vibe with it as well. There's a lot of options. And something that's very important that I will talk about when it comes to arranging is you don't have to constantly be adding and taking away things every 8 bars. Something that you need to do, the reason, like, think about the logic of why people give you that advice. It's because the attention spans are kind of, you know, they kind of get all over the place. But something that you can do that's powerful is something that I like to call, it's like attention hacks, but not in the sense of throwing random stuff in there just to gain attention. It's more so like are redirecting. So you're kind of redirecting their attention towards something, and you could do that by doing little cuts. So little drum cuts, little fills, instead of having everything kind of go, and making sure that each time is different. So like you can see here, during these bars, I let the drums just kind of go all the way. And the reason why I cut off the bongos here is because I have a fill that goes into here, so I don't want the bongos to interfere with the fill. But for example, during this verse part, since the verses ain't long and they kind of, you know, the groove might get a little monotonous, if you just redirect their attention by taking away all the drums, and it makes it come back in like it's kind of fresh. And especially if you do that in the middle of your chorus, something that I like to do a lot is I like to take away all of the first hits up until like the second or first snare, and that kind of gives this cool illusion of redirection. I got this from a Daniel Caesar song that he does it a lot in, and I just, ever since I've heard it that one time, just listen to how impactful it is. That alone will buy you another 8 bars, and especially if you add in something new. So it's like the combination, I'm just kind of gonna give a bunch of arrangement tips because I feel like people don't talk about it enough for some reason, or they hide it behind a paywall or something. It's so weird. But little tricks is like attention hacking, so like redirecting their attention and then adding something small. So it's not doing these huge motif and instrument changes. Like you still want to keep the foundation of what's going on the same, because people are going to get latched to it, especially if it's a good chord progression with a good groove. People are going to stay interested. They're not just going to be like, ah, this is, you know, whatever. And if there's an artist singing over this, it's even more, you know? Yeah, so I took away the drums and I added the xylophone to come in. The xylophone doesn't come in any other time before, and it only comes in after, again, when the chorus gets repeated, right? So this is an example of a chorus. You have everything going, and then you also have the A and B within the chorus. So it's like if the whole chorus is 16 bars, right at this 25 bar mark, which is 8 bars in, we have that redirection of attention into something new. And the something new doesn't have to be something big. Like I said, it could just be the xylophone, or you can add in another guitar layer, or you can change your drums from a hat to a ride, or you can add a shaker, you can add a tambourine hit on your snare. Like there's a million things that you could do. And yeah, super cool. Or if it's the Rhodes that's interfering with each other. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this Rhodes, and I want the Rhodes to be kind of a bit of the main character here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually put this on the chords, put it right before the reverb, just put the sidechain in from the Rhodes, and this is called frequency masking. So you get to see like right here, they connect a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duck out the frequencies that the Rhodes are filling up the most and where the guitar is kind of taking over, because I just want middle to highs of the guitars to get that sprinkly kind of higher sound. Even though I have it, you know, cut down to like 3K and it's very muffled, I still only want those frequencies at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and sidechain this, and I only want it to duck when it's playing. That's why I like Pro Q so much, because when you set up this sidechain right here, it'll only duck when the Rhodes plays. So when the Rhodes is not playing and they're not interfering, I still get those frequencies later. So I want to make sure it does like maybe no more than 6, so maybe I'll go 5. And this is higher up on the neck, so I don't have to worry about that. But now when I play these two together, they're gonna gel well. I would talk about mastering, but it would be like a whole other video. But for the main part, I'm gonna saturate it with this inflator, use some kind of bus compression right here. So I usually like the G bus. I'll just show you the chain super quickly. And if you want like a super in-depth video on how to master your beats and master your songs, you can leave that down below, and I'll go ahead and do that. What I'm actually gonna end up doing is I have a free Skool Community. You can see it down below. And what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna keep the free one open, but I'm going to create a paid one where I'm gonna do kind of like a real framework class of like where to start, depending on what path and what level you're on, what pathway to kind of take. I'm gonna lay out like a couple different levels of how to get somebody from like absolute beginner, kind of messing around with the DAW, or maybe just early intermediate where you're kind of stuck, and how to really get you to like a professional level where you can make stuff that you're super happy with. That's the main goal. I'll also go talking about how to make money in music. I'm gonna do super long classes, like hours and hours long, like 10-hour long courses. Maybe not 10 hours, but a little less, but like going into everything I know about music theory, everything you need to know about gear and everything. I'm gonna make it like the one-stop shop for anything. Like, it's called Producer College, so I'm gonna make sure that if I try to give everything away for free, as you know, but I want to make something paid that's like super high quality, and it'll cost about the same amount as a gym membership. I'm gonna do like a founding members thing where the first 25 members will pay 25 a month, give or take, around that range, and that'll be your price forever as long as you stay, unless you leave and go back in. It'll be on Skool. I'll make like an actual announcement about it, but if you made it this far into the video, I'm assuming that, you know, you're a little bit more serious about this and you're really interested in what I have to say and you resonate with my teaching style. So you can join the free community, because I'm gonna promote everything in there first, as those are like kind of the loyal people that are really investing in everything that we're doing here early. So it's better, it's more fair if I give them an earlier shot. So make sure that's you if you're not already in there. And yeah, I'm gonna go over my whole mastering chain in there as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, I could show that as well. But for the most part, saturation, compression, and just some limiting, and that's more than enough to get you. You just wanna make sure that it gets loud, but still has enough headroom for whatever next stage is, unless it's gonna be released. I get it to like -8 LUFS, and that's kind of like my sweet spot to where I make things sound really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and master it. And that's pretty much the entire process. So if you enjoyed the video, comment down below what was kind of your favorite thing, if you learned anything, if there's anything you want me to cover in future videos. I'm gonna hit a lot of genres. I'm not just gonna stick inside the little indie bubble that we've been in. Everything that I'm gonna do is all the genres that I love and that I'm good at teaching and good at learning, and also want to learn about, because I get to do some research when I'm doing these, get to see where the genre has evolved to nowadays, and do my own blend and my own take on it, and show people how to make things that they can be proud of. You know, I'm really proud of this beat. It came out super cool, and it took me more than a day to do. You know, it took me a little while, and that's also another lesson that I want to show people. And yeah, so if there's anything else that you want covered, comment down below, leave a like, subscribe. I post videos every Friday on this channel, and then join my free community down below and look out for that paid one coming soon, because I promise you it's gonna be worth it. I would never make something paid unless I thought I would pay for it myself, and I'm very stingy when it comes to joining communities and things of that nature, and it's gonna be awesome. So here's the final product, and yeah, catch you in the next video.